The appetizer might have been a little bit light, but the main course has finally arrived. New York taking on Shanghai. I'm ZP here with Wolf, and Wolf, this is what we've been waiting for.
This is what we've been waiting for. We got a few matches, in the Asia region that looked like they were going to be really good and then just kind of fell flat. New York versus Guangzhou felt like it was going to be one of those matches. New York with the 3-0 stomp. We had Seoul Dynasty versus Shanghai Dragons, which looked like it was going to be the match. And then Shanghai Dragons had the 3-0 stomp. Then we thought, okay, Seoul Dynasty going to look good in their series and against Charge to bounce back. That ends up being a 3-0 stomp. So we've had a lot of those in recent times. But talking about NYXLs in this lineup here that we're going to take a look at now, this one versus Shanghai, is this the one? Is this the roster that could topple Shanghai on their insane winning streak right now? We are going to have Bilby, Libero, Mono, Hotbot, Jonak, and Animo. So your normal heroes here know who are you to start.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if you're New York, this is the roster you want to see right now. I mean, who are you? A player that has high highs, but also low lows. If I'm a New York fan, I want them to run with what's consistent, what's worked, what gives them consistently good regular season records season after season. But, New York occasionally has this track record, Wolf, of struggling in bigger games. And, I mean, this is where they need to make a statement here and just take down the Dragons.
Yeah, it would be a huge statement to make. It would have them on, it would tie Shanghai's map win streak record as well if they're able to take this. Would put them at a 6-0 where Shanghai currently stands. Shanghai, of course, would be defeated in that streak that they have right now. So we'll take a look at those maps. The first map will actually be kind of fun for that one as we head into control. But taking a look at Shanghai Dragons roster on the other side of things, we actually have Lip and Ding. So no Fleta. Fleta, another one of those flex DPS players you think of when you think of an Echo player. Now, Ding obviously being the Pharah specialist, and Echo does and spend a lot of her time doing damage in the sky. Not massive surprise to see Ding in here over Fleta, but you would have thought Fleta would come in as the player to kind of pick up this catch-all, very flexible, can copy anything hero.
I mean, it just comes down to the idea that we don't know how good these DPS players are at their tank gameplay, where, for the most part, Echo is very flexible. You don't always have to copy a tank, but you look at the gameplay that's gone on, you talk with the players, you talk with the coaches, more often than not, your Echo player is going to copy a tank. And look, this varies from player to player, and it's not something that we have a whole lot of data on. For all we know, Ding is very good at these different tanks, whereas Fleta, maybe not so much. It's a wild card. It's something that we're speculating on. We don't have a lot of hard evidence, but it is one reason as to why you might see one player when you'd think you'd see another, and why versatility in the DPS role doesn't mean that you're going to be the world's best Echo player.
Yeah, it really doesn't necessarily. It's a totally different skill set, too, especially when you talk about, a tank like Winston, for example. We talked about Prophet previously. Winston, his purpose for the Echo duplication there is actually usually to be an extra threat, be a big damage absorber, and also a time buyer oftentimes because he gets the extra health bars, etc., and survives for so long. That's very different than, for example, how an Orisa plays, how a Roadhog plays, how a D.Va plays, and you're talking about tanks, but you talk about Winston specifically in a very niche situation. He's not trying to dive and kill a backline hero per se, although that sometimes does happen as a side effect, but it's a really, really unique way of playing this one hero for this one moment, and if you're not versed at those types of overtime scenarios, for example, you're just not going to do as well. You're not going to have that mindset, and I think that's where Prophet struggled. We'll see how Ding does, assuming he's going to be the one to pick up the Echo.
I think that's pretty likely just because of the aerial component talking about here, where, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit reductive. It's like, Ding play flying hero. Well, clearly Ding's going to play the flying hero again, but I think in this case it's true. Like, you can apply caveman logic here and probably be right.
Yeah. I mean, Fleta played a lot of Pharah in the past as well, one of his more famous heroes before Doomfist came out, Flash Lux, and then, I don't have to say anymore. You could watch Fleta's trajectory into Seoul Dynasty, and then, of course, later on into Shanghai Dragons. Strong Pharah player, but very flexible DPS player from Widow to Pharah, Projectile. He can play the Genji, although he doesn't very often. He can. So I think when you look at the overall utility that Echo brings to the table, I think Fleta is the right choice, but it may just be that Ding is fragging out of control on this hero when he's picking it up, getting crazy kills, able to, circumvent a lot of things in terms of like getting behind shields, finding that backline pick onto his Zenyatta, something like that. That could be why he's the one who's playing it. it's tough to say. Obviously, we haven't talked about it too much, but with McCree and Widowmaker removed this week, I mean, you've got a lot more flexibility than you normally would.
I'm glad you brought that up. That was something I wanted to bring up back in map 1 and just, went in one ear, out the other. Forgot as we watched Seoul just descend into the abyss, but this is perhaps a stronger week than normal for Echo. A hero that's already really strong. Normally you'd be running McCree just simply to help focus down the other Echo, give your Echo an opportunity to land a good focusing beam, but of course McCree's out of the pool right now, so McCree's not even a hero you can use to keep Echo a little bit more in check. It's sort of free reign for Echo players right now because one of her strongest anti-picks is simply not around.
Yeah, and to be honest with you guys as well, two of the strongest McCree players that we have in the world, especially in Asia, are two of the players we're going to see. We've already seen one of them in Fitz, and now we're seeing Lip on the Shanghai Dragons. Not going to be able to play the hero that they've made such a successful win streak with this week. So a little bit out of their comfort zone in terms of what they've been practicing and what they're playing right now. So interesting to see what Lip ends up playing. I mean, he could be the one on Echo. That would really surprise me, but it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, it very much is. And, well, if I have to say, I fully believe in the curse now. I believe it is you, where I'm just, in my mind, I'm feeling my Captain America energy right now. If I could do this all day, as, of course, we're waiting for the game to get started. But there's still a lot to talk about between these teams in this particular hero pool as a new hero is being played, because personally, when I look at this matchup here, okay, Seoul in our previous match, definitely a little bit not coordinated, to put it mildly. But you look going into here, I think it's going to be interesting to see how teams use the Echo. And also, I think this is a hero whose potential has not anywhere been close to being tapped right now, especially in how you use Duplicate, because right now we're seeing Duplicate get used on tanks in a pretty straightforward way. There's more potential to be wrung out of this hero right now.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if New York or Shanghai are going to be one of the teams to show it to us.
One of the cool things about Duplicate, I guess we're saying duplicate, using the pronunciation of it being a noun instead of a verb. I think it's supposed to be a verb in this case. But yeah, not to bring up the parts of speech, in this Overwatch broadcast. But anyway, we'll all figure out. Everyone's going to call it duping at some point. But anyway, what's cool about having the ability to fly is suddenly you can have a Reinhardt drop from the sky, because a Reinhardt shouldn't be able to shatter at will from a weird angle. Usually that doesn't happen. But if you have a Reinhardt on your team and the enemy Reinhardt has to be placing its barrier around that, then suddenly an Echo flies around to another side, goes and tosses in the duplication, and then drops down, hits a fire strike, and then shatters you on that side, or forces you to turn your shield. Then things get a little bit crazy. I don't know. I think the ultimate potential here, outside of just stalling with Winston, which is the easy way of playing the hero right now, is way, way higher than what we're seeing right now.
Totally agree. I mean, despite, the grammar jab there, where, look, I mean, you've been pretty vocal about all the books you've been reading recently. Now I just feel like you're flexing on me a little bit. I'm going to take some time, Wolf. I need to recover my ego after that just a little bit. At one point, my grammar was decent. Maybe not so much anymore. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the match should be underway. I'm happy to announce that we've reached a consensus. Because Wolf and I are the first casters of Cast Echo, we get to decide if it's duplicate or duplicate. All the power is ours. The problem is, I don't know if we're going to agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's duplicate. I don't know if I've been saying that most of the time, but I think it's duplicate.
I think I've been saying duplicate. So, touche. No consensus.
Duplicate is part of her kit. I don't know. I don't know, ZP. We're going to have to figure this out because we're the first casters. We decide. Everyone has to follow us.
True.
That's how it works. Okay? Like, whoever just, I forgot, I think it was Monty Adoa came up with, like, Big Bang, or the Zarya ult into the Pulse Bomb. And, like, everybody used that forever. No one was like, actually, it wasn't that big. Like, I don't know about that name. No, everybody used it forever. So, you know, I think it's duplicate, CP. We're going to have to fight to the death on this one.
Yeah, I've been saying duplicate because it's easier, and
I
want to take the path of least resistance. You want to be just snobbish about the entire thing, and I don't know, we're going to have to throw down, but we'll do it after the match, because guess what? We're going into Lijiang Tower, and again, this is what we've been waiting for.
This is what we've been waiting for, and I'm still, the big question on my mind is, will Ding be the Echo player? Of course Libero is the Echo player for New York. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I mean, Sabielby is a specialist. And in this case, he'll definitely be playing the Sombra if we continue to see that. 7-1, 8-1. New York will actually have a better record than Shanghai if they win this match. And, you know, a lot of people are saying, okay, New York has a great record, but they played against a lot of the, you know, North American teams before the region split, and it was kind of easy going for them. They had a few easy stops. But to beat Shanghai, a lot of people, myself included, are considering to be the best team in Overwatch League right now, would earn them that top spot, I feel, especially if they can do it dominantly. Because this is control center here on Lijiang Tower, it's not a big shock that we're going to see May here.
New York, this isn't allowed. There's no Echo on the field. No. What are you doing?
Echo for Shanghai, though.
Yeah, okay, we got one Echo. We'll see if New York has broken the meta or they just didn't read the patch notes as Mono immediately falls to Echo, by the way. So, unsure if the decision to not play Echo is going to pan out for New York. It certainly is in danger on this first fight.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they kind of got out-positioned there by the Shanghai Dragons, who had a better ice wall. They're going to get the first cap here, looks like. They both survived, though.
Yeah, New York is staying in the fight to a surprising degree. Jonak builds a really quick goal. Is Yaki out of the fight? And now Ding just sitting up there waiting for an opportunity as New York, they just muscle their way in. And somehow, some way, will have turned the fight.
Never underestimate the Coalescence power. Wow, even a Blizzard commitment here from Lip as he dies. That is a massive mistake for the Shanghai Dragons, who lose control percentage, lose Lip and a Blizzard. And New York Excelsior are making this Reaper composition look good. They don't even have a Zarya here. They're not even playing. They're not committing to the full goat style here on Lijiang. They're just going to play back.
This is the old man. This is the old man meta from New York saying we don't like change. Change is bad. You know what we're going to do? We're not going to change. We're going to run Reaper May because it's effective and we're good at it.
2018 New York fans remember that.
Well, we do have the beat comes in for the Dragons, but the New York Excelsior, they just dropped the Blizzard. They slow it down a bit. Automa, though, caught towards the very end. They don't get as much run as they might like, but charge over. Ding, though, shrugs it off, drops the Shatter, and the Dragons just roll on through. Double ride. Oof.
Yeah, Fearless gets this first start up here, and then that's everything you were talking about, everything we were alluding to about copying a Reinhardt. You know, you could see the power of that there as Mono gets walled out. Should be able to escape with the team helping him break that barrier down. But now Shanghai, they have a Graviton Surge. They have a slightly better composition for controlling this choke point because of the Zarya. And this is almost impossible for the NYXL to win this fight here.
Oh, they're still going to try. No, Fearless ends up dropping the charge into a wall. Mono sees the opportunity, goes in, drops the Shadow Zone. Dragons not phased. They drop a Graviton in response. And now New York in a rougher spot, but they're able to shake it off at the end of the beat. And now you've got to look to Sabielby. Death Blossom is up. Where's Sabielby right now? Mono's down. And New York, they are able to take down Izzyaki, and they end up piercing through the poke damage way in their favor.
It's once again Jonak having the Coalescence, the extra healing in these choke points, you know, coupled with damage, allows you to win these seemingly unwinnable fights when your opponent is stuck in, you know, what's essentially just a meat grinder of damage while you're also getting all that massive healing. And Jonak's had all these opportunities because these fights are going for so long. He's building Coalescence so quickly. And unfortunately, Immortality Field is just on a cooldown no matter what, and it hasn't proven as useful.
New York, they take the initiative. That's what they've been doing all round long this composition. Early Blizzard, force out the beat from Lee J gone, and Immortality Field already down. Sableby doesn't care, still in the back, takes down Void. Looking for a little bit more. Reaper V-May in the back, but there's the Shatter in from Fearless. Ding, off with the duplicate, trying to build a very quick Shatter. 80%, drops Shatter immediately, puts Mono to ground. Should be able to get the finish there, and we're seeing the power of duplicating a Reinhardt.
Insane how much health he has as well. I mean, you don't have that Primal Rage, but you're still going to be up in the front doing tons of damage.
Hop up, right back in. New York still gritting it out, using the Coalescence to fight their way back in. New York, even when they lose fights, they're not losing fights right now, Wolf. They're able to stall for Respawn to come back in. Mono takes down Fearless, and New York, they defy the meta, and they're about to defy the Shanghai Dragons.
Absolutely insane control here by Jonak again. And his healing is what's keeping them alive. There's just not enough damage output to finish off the frozen or slowed targets that, you know, you're seeing the freezes come through with the May, but there's just not enough fall damage. And when the Reinhardt clone is there, the damage isn't quick enough. And Jonak is able to save New York Excelsior in these moments with the extra healing and then get fast trances. I have to say, too, something I noticed on that last map is Lee J Gon actually kind of out of place a few times, and no one has championed Lee J Gon more than me coming into this season. I mean, I wanted him to be in a World Cup. He didn't play. I mean, I am a huge fan of this player forever. But the way he decided to engage on some of these fights, try to come in on sound barriers, meant that his team didn't have speed boost to try to take the fight to New York, and I think that hurt them in a lot of those fights.
And look at this again, New York. Not running with the Echo, and Wolf, at this point, I think it just has to be the initiation. New York is simply running at the Dragons. Lee J gone nowhere to go. They're taking advantage of the fact that Echo does want a little bit of time to set up.
Yeah, she certainly does. I mean, this map plays very differently than Ilios. It's not as open, there's not as much space to work with, and you really have to force the Echo into position a lot of times. And look at, I mean, there's so much blocking Echo's damage here. I mean, she's just struggling to find value.
Yeah, meanwhile, in New York, anytime the Dragons commit even a little bit, they're rushing on in. There's just untethered aggression coming in from New York, and I think it's the way you play against Echo if you're not going to run it yourself. Is Lee J gone already super low. Libero getting a lot done with the Torbjorn poke and takes down Lee J gone in the front.
Ding is just forced away here. He's taken out as well, and the Shanghai Dragons are finding this very difficult to approach the point because of the architecture of this map itself. The point is surrounded by, you know, not only those walls, but also these, I don't know what to call the big, I guess, pagoda in the middle of the building, or in the middle of the point. There's a few windows where you can fire into, but Libero's turret placement kind of helps cover those windows. As you can see, Ding is trying to take that same approach angle, and he's being shut down by Libero every turn. Turret makes it tough to approach. The map structure makes it tough to approach. I mean, it's hard.
And look at, to that point, Ding gets poked down by the turret to a degree, takes a parting shot. The Dragons are a little bit slow. They drop the EMP later in the fight. They use it to take down Mono. So even with Ding under pressure, it's still looking pretty decent for them here so far. But New York, they drop the beat. They're still trying to fight back. Sableby rushing on forward. The Dragons put into a corner and just barely keep Sableby back. But for how long? Void's out of the fight, and New York just continues to persist.
Ooh, and the Ding Reaper clone here not getting much done at all. That's not the ult he wanted.
No, and he's going to teleport in because, of course, you'll lose the duplicate. You get to come back in as Echo. Ding drops the early Death Blossom. About to swap back over. The Dragons still fighting here, but New York, they just don't fall on the point, not even a little bit. And even if they lose control here, Wolf, they've bought so much time.
If they force Fearless, oh, he has to Primal. This is so bad for the Dragons. I mean, they're going to have so few tools to defend the follow-up attacks for New York.
This is pretty insane from New York right now, where they came in the strategy for a second. And by the way, they're still contesting. The Dragons haven't captured the point. Mono got back over, was delaying a little bit longer, and finally, the Dragons captured, but Wolf, New York's at 99%.
Yeah, and Iziaki doesn't have trance. There's a small window here where you could see Molten Core come in to help control that point. You could have the Death Blossom. I mean, trance can't deal with both. Rally is going to have to be used early in this fight, and New York can just threaten these moves without actually committing in. The only thing they're scared of is this EMP right now, but if they bait that, then go for a follow-up engage. There's so much they could do with this.
Or they could just take it on the chin and go again. Like, they have fights to throw away here. It's still fine. We'll see how this one goes. Oh, look, it slapped! Mid-EMP! What a play! There's no EMP at all, and the New York Excelsior might have just done it. That was an absolutely bonkers play from Jonak.
The cap is here, and there's the Death Blossom.
They're cleaning it up. That's it. Jonak exerting his will on the fight. The Dragons were all in on the EMP. It does not happen. Overtime ticks down. I don't even know how I just watched. That was just incredible.
Absolutely masterclass play from New York Excelsior. Stalling, delaying, playing around this mobility. You know, the Torbjorn turret placement was really good there from Libero. I mean, the fight continues here, but it's just delaying the inevitable at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this is
the
not
clone of the D.Va here.
It's not a fight that is going to be flipped unless New York just all jump off the side. Of course, that doesn't happen. New York takes map 1, and I mean, aside from Jonak just being a walking god to deal with the EMP and put that fight over the top,
I mean,
New York.
Yeah, and you know too. Here, I almost called you Achilles. I guess that's old habits die hard, right? But when you're in that choke point, it's such a death trap for EMP. You know that it's tempting to EMP there, right? The same way we saw previously, Shu kind of peeking around to Zen, not spy check. It's like, you want to EMP me here because Chara's going to stun you out of EMP. In this case, it almost felt like New York wanted that to happen because Jonak was so on the spot, insta-sleep during the EMP animation. It's one of the cool things about the nerf we got to Sombra in 2.2.2, where, you know, she has that slight delay before the EMP goes off, is you get to see amazing plays like this now with that tiny window. Awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, even still, very difficult to do, especially with the sleep dart, but somehow Jonak finds a way. New York looking to position themselves as the #1 team in APAC. Are they going to be able to do it, or do the Dragons bounce right back? We're going to take a quick break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, helping you stay connected to what matters most. Learn about T-Mobile's COVID-19 response on T-Mobile.com.
And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renter's insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch.
And by Zip Chair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League.
Playing that hero and rushing down the opposition, the Dragons finding themselves on the back foot, and Wolf, I don't think we expected this coming in.
I mean, you know, Mei is always going to be strong on control center, excuse me, on Lijiang, where, you know, there's a lot of choke points. You're going to have the Mei Reaper be strong. You're going to have the Jonak on the Moira, hero name not coming to my mind for a moment there. I'm so bewildered by today's games. The Moira actually is going to give you a lot of AoE. It's going to be very strong. Fun fact, actually, Chengdu Panthera popularized goats on Lijiang Tower only in Korea, where the rest of the world was playing goats way before Korea. Only Chengdu Panthera was playing it, only there on Control Tower. And it's a map where that kind of style of play is popular. Shanghai wanted to use the Zarya there, and then moving into the second round, they moved away from that, obviously focused all on the Echo engages, but New York just had the staying power. They knew how to play around it. They knew how to play around the EMPs, and New York is coming to Asia to say, look, we have a great record. It was so easy in North America. Asia is easy too. Great start.
Yeah, I mean, what more can you say? Where also, I mean, raising the rep of North America to a degree, where I think if New York had come in here and just got steamrolled by the Dragons, which, by the way, I mean, the Dragons could bring it back and do that. But right now, does it appear like that's going to be the case? You would have the ability to go, the North American teams are not all that good. Like, what did New York do? Build up like 5 wins against the Uprising? What does it really matter? But no, the New York is looking very, very good against the Dragons. And I think for me, if they win this match and continue to play in the fashion they're playing, it puts them at #1 in the league for me.
Yeah,
no
I think everyone puts them at #1 in the power rankings after that. I mean, Philadelphia's had their moments, and a lot of people still have them at the top. You and I have, been very wary of Philadelphia since even before the season, but we have to give them credit. I was a little bit more worried about them than I should have been, but I think for me at this moment, New York takes that #1 spot. If they crush this, especially if they get a 3-0, we're not there yet. I mean, we're obviously, the series isn't even close to ending just yet, but I am worried because if New York is able to take Shanghai out Echo-less and be so well prepared versus Echo, and Shanghai has perhaps been preparing Echo only, that could be a mismatch that Shanghai's just not ready for.
Well, the thing I wonder here, too, is that New York's playing really aggressive and taking advantage of Shanghai just not reacting well. You have to wonder for the long-term meta here, how much of this is Echo not being the meta, or how much of this is New York going, even if Echo is theoretically better, we know we can play the compositions that we're comfortable with to a higher degree, so we're not going to play Echo just yet. Of course, as I say that, you look, and they are showing Echo for now.
Sure. I mean, it's a substitution, too, though. They've done this with Who Are You before. They used him on Paris exclusively versus the Guangzhou Charge, where he was running Genji, some defensive Doomfist. Those stronger heroes he has slightly above Libero, arguably. Would be surprised to see Who Are You to be the player who has the better Echo than Libero, but it might just be because Who Are You has less playtime. He actually ends up playing the specialty heroes on the bench and kind of training up for these moments, even though Libero was that kind of player in the past. They're going to start with it here. It's going to be Tracer as well, so a little bit different than the Sombra dive, but functionally similar. A lot of backline threat with this, and DJ Gons will do well to continue to use this Brigitte for extra protection.
I think the scary thing for the Dragons here, if Sabiel B and Who Are You get in sync, where a Tracer, of course, can bring you down the half pretty quickly, and, an Echo is going to do that and more if you're at 50%. So the synergy between Sabiel B and Who Are You of the utmost importance here, and the Dragons just starting to push their way through, not really wasting a ton of time, but New York, they're going to bend back. Mono gets out just in time.
Yeah, I think the Dragons want to play around EMP here. So Who Are You actually gets an insane trade on the ding. All you need is that half health and then you just chase. The trade is good enough to where he can actually go ahead and commit that beam. And they have to back away. They can't fight without ding. But yeah, they're playing around EMP. They need that for the engage here. And JJoNak is kind of matching the charge right now. 56 to 66 right now. So this is a little bit scary for your win condition if you're the Dragons.
New York, they're not just winning on the Echo trade, they're just winning across the board mechanically right now, and that's scary for the Dragons. Lip gonna get forced back a bit. Does build 80% towards EMP, so I think for the Dragons here, well, if you just wait for the EMP, you don't have to do anything before.
Yeah, there's a really small window where you can actually hit that before JJoNak has Trance, and I think that's what they're looking for.
Ding getting very low, but as long as Ding doesn't fall, it's fine. The Dragons are just about to the goal that they need here, which is having EMP and 6 people still alive. New York, they haven't done enough to deal with this here just yet, and now you look at Lip. Oh, Izyaki's down right before the EMP comes out, with Sabiel B assassinating too. They have to wait till the next fight.
And every time JJoNak is targeted, Anamo is giving him armor, so you're seeing this, relatively invulnerable Zenyatta. The battle Zenyatta is often been called as JJoNak is playing aggressively, getting that fast transcends. He actually matches Lip. He actually was ready for it, even though it didn't happen. Lip is hiding now, hoping to find JJoNak stepping back, hoping to find him avoiding EMP, and actually, ironically, catch him there with a right-click hack. But JJoNak was actually forward, so he still hasn't found him yet. Oh, that was close.
Ooh. Again, that would have been another 30 seconds down. And, Wolf, the Dragons have been time efficient here. They're already down to a minute 40 because they've been playing footsie for, frankly, too long.
Anamo used his shield bash, so it was an opportunity there. Doesn't take it.
Got rally out from both sides. Now the Dragons decide it's finally time to move. Jeff, Who Are You? Dashing around. Lip holding on to EMP for a very long time here. Fearless's Primal just about done. They have the duplicate up, so could be a power play here for the Dragons between EMP and duplicate. They open the Transcendence. Everything on the table here for the Dragons. They move on him, but they can't. No, they do get Mono just in time. Mono not able to get away. And now the Dragons looking for a little bit more economy here. Well, if they want to try and do this efficiently.
Yeah, Hoppa getting in that Meg. This is actually really huge. If they can buy a lot of time here. This actually really hurts the Shanghai Dragons if they have to use any further ultimates. They don't have to use the EMP.
Wait, they just... No, they're still fine. The rally was already out a little bit before, and for the Dragons, not bad.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. See, the Echo ultimate got you too.
Yeah, I know. I just realized.
I got him.
Oh, no. I'm in this together.
It's going to happen to everybody this weekend.
Oh,
for sure.
It really is.
But, I mean, they get to keep the EMP here, which is huge. Jonak had to trance early, and they were so patient. You got to love that from Lip. Because now, even though they lost a decent amount of time on that A-take, I mean, it's a solid time bank, but wasn't as good as they would have liked. Now they can make up for it with that EMP if they have a good engage here, knowing there's no Transcendence.
Yeah, I mean, this is also where you can snowball quite a bit for the Dragons, but so long as Fearless doesn't fall, where, again, the key here is that while you're waiting for the EMP, no one can fall at the same time. You have to give yourself more time, but New York, they take the initiative. They drop the self-destruct over. They dive on through. It's going to force the EMP out, but the Dragons still play around it well. They take down Mono, and here's the problem. They need to win decisively, Wolf. They've only taken down Mono, and the rest of New York, they're delaying. Who Are You uses Duplicate, and it's going to be even more stall coming in.
Yeah, the duplicate usage here, I mean, it's not massive value, but it does stall quite significantly, and it's really well used in that choke point where Who Are You is going to get that Primal Rage the fastest and do a ton of damage. Shanghai has to regroup here. And getting out of this choke versus sticky bombs is really frustrating, and all the poke that Echo provides.
Well, have a trade out there. Who Are You, though? Able to put New York in a better spot. And, I mean, this is a scary part here. Even those Dragons are getting the better of the fight, New York's doing such a good job of delaying that it just burns time off the clock. Though, Dragons now starting to get a little bit more momentum. Who Are You cannot die here, Wolf. New York, they still got another chance.
Yeah, this is a really good opportunity if he survives. He's threatened now, actually. He doesn't want to fly above because it could have gotten hacked and then fall into his death, so he has to go back to rejoin his team. So the cart moves. We're going to have to see a re-engage here.
Re-engage coming. Oh, Mono's immediately put into the dirt. New York, they're going to come out with Transcendence, perhaps. I mean, I don't think they let this go for free. Jonak, he's going to do it, but it's a 4-on-6 here. It is not a good situation, and they don't get a miracle boot. That's probably going to be it. Sableby, though, in the back, looking to make this a miracle play. Hoppa's down. No, it is going to be just about all Sableby here. If anything does happen, the Dragons, though, doing a very good job of keeping everyone alive, so it should be point B to the Dragons.
Yeah, it's going to be B to Dragons. Sableby buys about 30 seconds worth of time. They end up losing the Transcendence there, too, because Jonak had to commit it for them to have that real staying power there, to have the opportunity for Sableby to even potentially get some picks and start to turn that. But it's okay because Lip EMP'd, he doesn't have that ability. It's not like they need Trance for anything except contesting C itself or denying an EMP, so doesn't end up being too terrible for New York, who've really done a great job of playing safe and slow here. They're not playing around getting a big hold, but just working against the time bank.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that has to be the frustrating part for Shanghai, where, okay, you lose Lip here early, more time goes off the clock, but even when New York loses fights right now in the series, they don't lose fights. They just continue to persist. They saw it at Control, which is more common in Control, but we're seeing it here in Eichenwald as the Dragons are down to about their final minute 50.
Yeah, it's like New York is suddenly that hole in your pocket where, you know, you don't notice it at first, but suddenly all of your time is just falling out, and, you know, you look in your pocket, you're like, well, we only have a minute 39? I thought we had a great start to this round. Like, how are they chipping that away?
Just saw I lost change, but now we're talking about a temporal anomaly in my pants. I don't want it, Wolf. But now the Dragons still looking for a way through. They take down the front line, and now they finally have an opportunity.
Yeah, Sableby here again, trying to get into that back line. And they force the rally. They can just disengage. Looks like that's exactly what they're going to do. I actually really like how patient New York is playing this. They've got their own Trance. And slow this down.
And slowing down is, again, what they've been doing with Sableby. Down. Mono trying to get away here. Mono can get away. It's going to let New York delay even longer, where the Dragons are up 1, but it doesn't feel like it. With New York going in and out repeatedly, just delaying time and time again. 50 seconds left. Mono gets back to the fight, gets taken down. But Sableby takes down Lee Jae-gun. They're just continually gumming up Shanghai.
Yeah, they just really want to push this to overtime. They might get more than that if Sableby can get another pick here. Boyd's got self-destruct, so on the point they can actually stay long here. But they need to get picks. Trading like this isn't good enough for Shanghai. They're losing time.
Yeah, and New York, again, they're not necessarily winning this fight, but they're stalling out repeatedly. It's been one long fight that really hasn't ended. But the one thing that has ended is Shanghai's time. 17 seconds left, and stalling this into overtime would be huge for New York.
I mean, this actually is holdable now, too. The Trance actually gives them a re-engage. They have that armor. Lip's EMP not too effective.
Well, Dragons are getting a critical mass of pickoffs here at the choke point, but look at the time. It's brought down into overtime. New York has a clear win condition now for their attack. So even though the Dragons, you look at the kill feed and you go, wow, they've been dominating. But New York just drains the time down. It's a very interesting way to play Overwatch.
It certainly is. Unfortunate timing there on Sabielby's recall. Mono was waiting to further stall that. I think there was a world where if things had gone a little bit better for New York and Mono had gotten Primal Rage, they might have actually been able to eventually win that. But, you know, as we were harping on throughout that entire push for Shanghai, New York was never playing for preventing CE. They were always playing for an overtime finish. New York's had great times so far in their last few matches, especially against the Guangzhou Charge. So playing for, you know, just finishing this map with a time bank and then saying, okay, Shanghai, you've got draw best case scenario, is something that's very New York-like. They're a very passive team. It's kind of always their MO to play for a chess-like win condition and not always playing for the big flashy plays, the perfect counter ultimates. And it was just a slow time burn. You love to see it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's just playing the objective in its purest form, right? Where, okay, that turns into a meme where it goes, yeah, I'm dying all the time, but I'm on the objective. New York took that away from a meme into a reality there where it was a very interesting thing to cast where, okay, Dragons are an eternally winning fight, but they're winning so slowly that it's kind of like they didn't win at all.
Yeah. Interestingly, too, we saw another Zenyatta duplication from Ding. He did end up duplicating the Jonak Zenyatta there for a Transcendence, so I think we're going to see a little bit more of that. That seems to be a trend, not always just the main tank duplication. Is New York, the really unique composition here, at least out of the gates, and you know, normally when you see a Roadhog like this, it's just for a potential pick on somebody who's trying to flank, something like a Tracer or a Sombra comes to mind oftentimes in this meta, but it's actually sticking with it.
Well, Roadhog is something Winston's always had to respect, and speaking of Winston's respecting, Fearless just barely able to get away from Who Are You. Very heavy damage coming in as New York look to plot their attack, but Fearless can't be as aggressive here, Wolf.
Yeah, he certainly cannot. He's going to have to be very, very safe every time that hook is up. Speaking of hooks...
Appa finds Lip early, and this puts New York in a really good advantage. And if there's going to be a difference between the two teams, how do they play a man up? Where New York, they simply don't fall, but New York, when they're a man up, they just roll over the Dragons. This is so decisive, Wolf, and it's a big difference from the defense we saw a round ago.
Well, it's all, a lot of this is actually playing around, too, the fact that they have the Echo, right, and they have the Focusing Beam, which really, really destroys half-health targets. You see Who Are You a lot of the time in the kill feed with that Focusing Beam because this composition actually has a ton of poke. You have the shields that Mono drops down, but then he just spams damage in. Hotball is right-clicking, doing damage if he's not getting picks with hooks. All the chunking coming through from Jonak as well, then suddenly Who Are You just has great targets for Focusing Beam. And I like how they're utilizing this composition completely unique here. And the third type of play we've seen from New York already in 2 maps.
It's been very varied from New York, and I mean, it shows just how flexible they could be. Of course, they had some changes in their coaching staff to a degree in the offseason. People wondered what would happen, and New York still looking as good as ever. Sabielby in the back gets the stick. Ana out of the fight, and now we'll see. Where's Who Are You? A lot of people low in the back, and this is where Who Are You can go in and clean up, and he does! Gets Lip! That's the synergy you need between your Tracer and your Echo.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you were talking about from the beginning. I mean, Echo is just like Pharah in that if a Tracer finds a target, it's really easy because she's so mobile to chase that target down, but because of that Focusing Beam as well, you know, it's almost guaranteed the finish. You don't even have to have Pharah accuracy to finish it off. You just press E and run through. Shanghai are taking a beating here, but they do have EMP for the contest. And if they could catch Jonak, that would be amazing. That's what they need to start this off right. Ooh, the engage.
Goes for the duplicate, goes to the back, and Ana in real danger. Here comes a Primal. She's going to be knocked away. Hoppa, though, out of the fight on the other side. The Dragons striking back. They drop the EMP mid-fight, but the Dragons are so disrupted they can't take advantage of it. New York now far tankier on the point. Dang gonna drop the Supercharger, try and run this back with the D.Va, with the Brigitte, and they do just that. Animo taken down, and the Supercharger helps to turn the fight.
Yeah, it's not over yet. Who Are You? Trying to find a pick here. Sabielby gets one. Yeah, Who Are You's losing this duel, but Shanghai has spawn advantage. Eventually, this is going to get turned around. Hoppa actually going to end up wasting his ultimate there. He may be swapping. He's obviously a lot less valuable on this bridge. He actually died previously to Lee Jae Gon, as you pointed out, from a whip shot there. Actually was knocked off the map, and yeah, he will swap to D.Va. You're very vulnerable to environmental kills on the bridge as Roadhog, so he just doesn't have any way to... If he gets hit off, he's off.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes pigs don't fly, Wolf, especially with Roadhog, where they just don't fly.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
look, D.Va gives you the ability to control this high ground, low ground. You know, you have the survivability, much more staying power in terms of verticality here on that hero.
So the Dragons, they stabilize, trying to even the time bank advantage. New York still working at a time edge relative to where Shanghai was around to go. But this gets dangerous for New York if this fight does not go well. That's where they find themselves in a hole and might not be able to finish with over a minute left. The Dragons being very passive here, Wolf, and I think it's the right approach.
Yeah, it certainly is. They have Nano Boost, and Ding's actually soon to have another duplicate. So, I mean, there's a infinite health Winston soon to approach. Not if Ana dies.
Who Are You goes in, gets the primal, does not get burst down immediately, but if Hoppa down again early, it's going to be tough. Fearless, though, off on the other side, 5-on-5. Sabi will be making room on the other edge of battle. But is that enough? Lip is still in there, able to drop the EMP. The Dragons really taking a page out of New York's book here, where they lose a little bit in the early fight, they come back in, they delay, but Sabi will be still making it interesting.
Yeah, Ding here duplicating the Tracer might not have been the right move. You know, it's going to be great if you're the attacking team because you can keep touching the point, but as a defender, you don't get a whole lot of value out of that one usually. Shanghai should probably just simply give this up at this point because they're speeding over ult charge. Lip's trying to get a little bit more EMP, but yeah, I mean, you don't see pulse bombs connect in pro Overwatch very often because it's just so difficult to do, especially in a world where we have Brigitte in the hero pool, so that might have been an accident. You build pulse bomb really fast, but you're not going to be able to use it. You don't have a large health pool. Your recall isn't going to do much for you. You need something that's a little bit tankier, I think, to buy time there.
So, Wolf, we do have a benchmark here. Okay, Sabi goes for the pulse bomb, doesn't hit. But New York, if they're able to finish in the next minute 40, Shanghai doesn't get an attack. So Shanghai, at the very least here, they need to delay this to under a minute.
Yeah, they do, and that's actually huge. Meanwhile, EMP...
falls immediately. This is so big for Shanghai.
Yeah, so this is where you start to get really worried as New York, though. You broke through B. Sure, they used their EMP. You knew this was going to be the EMP fight. You couldn't win. You didn't have Transcendence. This happens all the time where teams run into EMP. They just have like a, you know, I want to say semi-serious engagement where if they get a pick, I mean, they can follow up, but you know you're going to force the EMP. Then you come back with the Trance. But this time, Shanghai has their own Trance, so you don't have that advantage. And Shanghai really just has to buy time here, then you feel pretty good about your situation despite having no time bank.
Well, they're getting another attack round no matter what here. I don't think there's any possibility where New York finishes the next 45 seconds unless Shanghai just simply falls. And, all right, as I say that, Void's a little bit far forward. Loses the mech. Fearless needs to get away.
Who's he going to copy here? He's been copying the tank mostly. He's been copying Fearless.
Nope, he copies the Sombra. They're going to go for the MP. Sable B to the back, drop the pulse bomb, does not get what he's looking for. Who Are You gets taken down before he can EMP. Back into the Echo he goes, and the Dragons, a very good counter engage led by Fearless. So not only do the Dragons don't have to worry about not getting another attack, New York might not even finish at all.
Yeah, that's a big gamble you take if you go ahead and copy the Sombra, look for the EMP. It looked very intentional. We will have a lot of duplicates that fail the same way you see, you know, Boostios and things like that because of the way that the line of sight works for that. It's a little bit harder to mess up. Sabi gets stunned here. But yeah, we will see that happen. But I think that was intentional. Just didn't get the value, died instantly, was focused down. I say die, but he was forced out of the Sombra form, so didn't get the EMP he was looking for. That was the whole point.
Now Shanghai looking for the win. New York on the edge. Mono goes with the early primal. EMP is big. Hits 5, but Jonak, this Transcendence right there, so as good as EMP was, the Transcendence from Jonak, better. New York still with options here in the fight. Lee Jae-gun is down. Sabi will be on the prowl in the back with the pulse bomb. Jonak's out of the fight, but still winnable for New York, but they just lose on the front line. Void and Fearless turn it, and now New York, they are in trouble. They have to hope for Sabi to buy time in the final 14 seconds.
And Shanghai is going to get an attack no matter what, as you say, but I mean, they might just win the map here. Who Are You rushing back to the point as fast as Echo can go? Echo actually takes a long time to get back to these points. So Sabi has to buy the time. Hoppa gets bashed away. He does touch.
Here we go, overtime in progress. Shanghai looking to even up 1-to-1. Self-destruct in early from Hoppa. What's it going to do? Just push the Dragons a little bit back. New York taking the advantage here. Who are you? Uses duplicate on the Winston, building up a Primal. Lee Jae gone out of the fight. Primal Rage in from Who Are You? The disruption is big. The Dragons on the back foot as New York is being decisive. Overtime ticking down, but this is looking like extra rounds here. Wolf, and it is.
It is going to be extra rounds. A close call there for NYXL, but Sabilby does it again. It feels like, you know, we're so focused on Echo, new hero. Our observers are like always watching the Echoes, but Sabilby is always in the kill feed off screen, making stuff happen. He hit a big pulse bomb, actually, in that fight. Didn't end up killing. I think it was onto Fearless. Didn't end up killing him, but actually forced him back. And the rest of the team had to kind of collapse back with him. Who Are You? This time duplicated Fearless, went for the Winston, which gave them a lot more potential to actually force that fight into their favor. As the attackers on, you know, any position where there's a checkpoint and your opponent has spawn advantage, whether it's B of Assault, whether it's B or C of Hybrid or, you know, Escort, the real winning moment is when you start to get 4 kills, you know, and then the other team just can't rush back to the point and can't defend regardless. We've had a lot of changes to the game in that regard as well, you know, as more and more die and more on the point, you takes longer to respawn, etc. But my point is the last engage we had with Who Are You trying to go for the EMP wasn't that kind of fight, but with him going in for Fearless and that duplicate, looking for the Winston, gives you that ability to get 2 and 3 kills and then push for the 4th and push in deep and finish them off.
Well, it's not just that, too. I think one of the advantages of running Tracer the way New York is that Tracer's just better at cleanup when you have an advantage. Sombra might be better with the EMP and giving the initial advantage in the fight, but it leaves you open to getting stalled the way New York has been doing. But New York, when they get an edge right now, Wolf, they just clean it up very quickly. Yeah,
you know, you're not reliant on EMP. You have more consistent damage, absolutely. And that's the trade-off here in terms of compositions for the most part. And when you've got a Zenyatta, too, it's so much easier to get those kills. As Sabilby here. The Discord Orb just making it so difficult for Fearless and Void to even close the gap, while Who Are You just takes a different angle. No EMP charge here, barely.
Very tense between both teams right now. Neither one get the first pick. Blip getting very low while trying to build EMP, of course. Early EMP would be an early point take, but Fearless is bursted down! Sabilby all over it, set up by Animo on the stun. Great coordination by New York. Sabilby just barely able to recall out. And now the Dragons are going to overtime. They have to go in with 5 Wolf. They cannot wait for Fearless in full.
Yeah, they can't. They have to go in. Void touches. He's stunned, though, and going to get DMAG, looks like.
Were you in the back looking for the pickoff? Finds Ding! Ding had nowhere to go, got hunted. And now New York looking for the first point hold. Not a perfect first point hold. They give it 39.4. So still winnable for the Dragons, but their progress is halted here. And New York has put themselves in a very good position.
They really have.
Nothing in the series.
I really like what you point out about the trade-off between a Tracer and a Sombra, because I feel like that's exactly what we saw even on that point as well. Sabilby is getting picks with Discord Orbs, with Jonak helping him out. And the difference between Sombra and Tracer, they both even have the same E ability almost, right? Like there's Recall, there's Translocate, which will save you like a Recall will. But the team fight ultimate is the one that really puts Sombra more at the forefront of the map. That's why Sombra's always been more prevalent than Tracer, because she has this ultimate that can change the entirety of a team fight. It can take a support ultimate away. But when you're playing with 1 minute and you can't build that important team fight ultimate, you can't get that EMP until overtime is ticking down. The Tracer, a good Tracer player, is going to get more value in that 60 seconds, and that's what Sabilby did. And New York, once again, want to run this Roadhog composition. I have questions about this, because if this doesn't pop off early, you know, you're just going to be, I mean, really down a D.Va, if that makes sense.
There's a big change here, though. There's a really big change for New York where you see the difference in playstyle when there's only 1 minute left. Right now, I mean, we'll see if it holds true, but they're looking for the Hangzhou. They're just looking for a fight that they can win early, no ults required. One shot is all it takes, and
yeah,
this is what New York is banking on right now. Where, by the way, they do have to have some success here. This is not draw territory.
Yeah, it's losable.
Yeah.
He does swap. I think that he showed it last time too. I mean, if you get a fast Dragon Strike, there's a Hulk combo there, but I think everything you said still holds true, but he wants to go for the Tracer again. He's getting armor packed by Anamo, which makes it much easier for him to go into the back line. Anamo is just crushing Lip at every turn, though, it feels.
I don't like the Sombra early here in the defense. I don't know if it's going to get the value they're looking for. I don't think you can reliably build an EMP in the next 30 seconds. So New York playing head advantage, but There is the hack to the back on the mono. Forces it back a little bit, but Void got super low, ends up getting demexed. There's the hook on the Fearless, and the front line for the Dragons does not exist.
Hop on lives too.
Oh, New York immediately there in the cleanup, and that is it. New York 2-0 at the half.
Roadhog's such a great hero at getting that damage done to help Who Are You get those final blows, get those kills. One of Hoppa's favorites since the beginning of his career, all the way back on LW Red. He pulls it out here. New York showing 3 different unique compositions, completely different styles from each other, and making them work and stealing that map away. It looked risky, their playstyle, their very slow burn playstyle, defending B and then going into C, slowing that time bank. But, you know, it paid off in the end. They had the better 1-minute teamfight composition.
Yeah, I mean, New York, everything you see them do, it's done with a purpose. The execution is there. The coordination between Sableby and Who Are You, we wondered where it would be. It was quite good, especially between Tracer and Echo. And New York looking like the team to beat. The Dragons in dire straits. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, some halftime analysis.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by ZipChair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League.
It is now time for your game break presented by Pringles Wavy, and I'm going to channel my inner Gordon Ramsay here. Finally, some good Overwatch, where even though it's a 2-0 right now, Wolf, I honestly think that this has been a close series so far, and just entertaining Overwatch, particularly from New York, where they've proven to be very adaptive.
Yeah, and, you know, it's one of those 2-0s that you look at the scoreline if you just tuned in, you know, or you only watch part of the maps, you might think, wow, like, Shanghai's getting stomped here. How could this happen? But it's actually been a much closer 2-0 than that would lead you to believe. Control was a little bit wonky, where New York kind of caught Shanghai off guard, I think, echoless. And it was still fairly close, but then obviously as we went into Eichenwald, 2 playstyles clashed completely. But we still went down to the wire. We still went down to that 1 minute each overtime. So very close second map. I think there's really this is still anyone's game to take if Shanghai could just step it up a little bit.
Definitely agree. I mean, I think the last map we just saw was evidence of that, right? It went to extra rounds. Both teams had a minute. I mean, even when one team is dominating the other, if you get into that situation, it is anyone's game. But now, Wolf, I got to ask here as we go into our next segment, which, of course, Crunch Time, also presented by Pringles Wavy. What moment stood out to you as we look at the half?
I mean, obviously, I think everybody is going to talk about Jonak's sleep dart that canceled the EMP. That was a huge moment that helped them secure Lijiang Tower. And that's the big replay you look back at and you say, wow, like, Jonak still got it, right? Obviously, most famous for his Zenyatta. His Ana has always been very good, but it's moments like these that remind fans, I think, that, hey, Jonak might still be the best flex support. You know, there's always a lot of discussion about, is Twilight taking his place? You know, Violet looks very good. You know, you see a lot of arguments that he might be slipping because New York's results aren't as good as they used to be. But I think it's big moments like that that you really got to hone in on for Jonak. And, I mean, he makes the big play. And he had a great series, or he has had a great series so far. It's not over yet. As close as it may feel to be with the two good series we were looking for today might end up being 2-3-0s. Close 2-0, but, you know. I'm hoping for 5 maps here.
I think right now this series definitely feels a bit differently than the series that we had earlier today, where it is possible, right, to have two different varieties of a 3-0. I mean, personally, I hope for the fans, and also especially the Shanghai fans, that this goes the other way, because a lot of people were going, okay, this could be one that goes a distance, and despite it being close, New York now just one map away. But I have to say, well, if you look at the history of the Overwatch League, you look at New York. Yeah, New York hasn't always had the most playoff success, but their regular season dominance is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the meta is, doesn't matter what the year is, doesn't matter what the good teams on the other end of the game may be. New York is just consistently awesome in the regular season.
I think their preparation is one of the best that we'll ever see in the Overwatch League. They're able to prep so well, so often. Like, when everyone's able to prep a long, long time, like going into a playoffs, for example, sometimes you can get tripped up. But New York's really good at identifying what everyone else is doing and making a composition to counter that, or playing differently, even if it's a mirror composition, to counter that. And that's often very defensively, very reactionarily. And that shows in this case as well. You go to playoffs, you know, obviously the other team might play something completely different than you expect because you haven't played against them in weeks, you haven't scrimmed against them in weeks, and you never know. You know, you meet someone in semifinals, how that's going to work. You never know. If there's going to be a hack on the trance, Michelle's going to go in there and hack Jonak and steal your playoff run away, like Stage 1 last year. But I do feel like it's kind of crazy, too, when you think about New York's history and Shanghai's history, two franchises that have been in the Overwatch League since the inaugural season. And New York was the top of the regular season. Shanghai was at the bottom. And now in 2020, they're really close to each other, and they're essentially battling it out right now for which team is the strongest Overwatch League team right now.
Yeah, and it's the storylines going into this. As you say, on one side, you have a team that's been consistently good. On the other side, you have a team with one of the greatest turnarounds in a few years, really in professional sports. But either way, Shanghai is on the back foot. New York looking to finish this one off. Dragons fans, do they have what it takes to turn it around? We're going to find out soon.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
New York on the verge of shattering the power rankings if they can get just one more map over the Shanghai Dragons. I'm ZP here with Wolf, filling in for Achilles, who's feeling a little bit sick today. And Wolf, this matchup so far, New York has looked brilliant.
They really have. I mean, they're playing passively oftentimes, but playing smartly, predicting what Shanghai is going to do, preparing counter compositions. I really just love to see this sort of creative thinking and going against the meta. Usually in Overwatch history, historically speaking, it doesn't work out very well for most teams, but we're starting to see more and more teams do it right now with this weekly meta that we're seeing that hero pools have created. And New York is just one step ahead right now. Tracer over Sombra, Saebyeolbe, making it happen.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you bring that up because historically, teams going against the meta, that's the move of the weaker team. That's a team going like, yeah, we're not as good as the other team, but we'll run something that they might not expect that's a little bit quirky. We'll play it in such a way that we make it close, but we end up losing in the end. Yeah, I just described the Chengdu Hunters like 90% of the time. But I do think that this is something that New York, they've taken an analytical approach to the meta. They are still running Echo here past control, and they've just shown different looks, as you brought up, Wolf, and it's been cool to see them execute really well on each individual look.
Yeah. By the way, I don't think this is necessarily real. Probably not, given the support line that we see and No Mercy in this week's hero pool. But, it'd be interesting to see Lip with the Pharah and the Echo attack here, but I think he's going to swap probably to the Sombra. Yep. Before I can even finish saying it, he does. So we do have, this time around, completely mirrored compositions except the Sombra Tracer again. So no Roadhog or anything crazy like that. New York defend first. And it's about, again, picks for New York versus long-term teamfight stability with that EMP.
And the biggest thing the Dragons can do to make the Sombra pick work well is Lip needs to build the EMP quicker. I think sometimes it's taking a long time. Fearless gets poked down early, and you just see until EMP is a factor, the amount of pressure New York can put on between the Echo and Tracer is pretty wild to me. I think the presence of Echo just makes Tracer that much more deadly. And Ding, though, gets the turn! Takes down Saebyeolbe. It was close, but that return fire puts Dragons in a great spot for point A.
Yeah, this is definitely stallable on the side of New York, especially with this pick onto Lip.
Well, Lip's out of it, so now we go into New York where even if they lose, do they lose well? And okay, they're going to lose. They just lost Anamo and Hoppa. This is not going to be a long delay. And in fact, the Dragons, pretty decisive on the cleanup this time around.
Yeah, Saebyeolbe is looking for damage here onto Ding, which means he's not even going to stall. They're just going to back off. They don't want to feed over more ult charge at this point, especially when you've got EMP on the playing field and Jonak isn't ready for that just yet. New York love to play their counter dives with Mono and Saebyeolbe so much, especially when Winston v. Winston, and they tried to do it here again, but that opening pick for Shanghai just really collapses everything New York was trying to build there. Who Are You is going to have ult here in this longer fight, so it's not, I don't think, a take that Shanghai can have. They can't fully take B here, barring a disaster for New York.
Well, I think it depends. If Shanghai, they wait a little bit for EMP, I think there's a chance, but they're not looking to solo play at all. They're going directly to the point. I think they're going to force Transcendence here in a moment. Void getting pretty low. Izayaki is where you usually see a Zen trying to go for it, but no, they buy enough time for the EMP. Lip goes for it. Ends up hitting 4 for New York.
Jonak's hacked!
Oh, Jonak can't get away! And now, 6-on-5, Dragons have a good opportunity here. Izayaki still holding on to Transcendence. XL not going to have it for a while, and Shanghai, they're almost here, and they haven't even used Transcendence. New York on the verge of losing point B, and can only be described as a speed run.
I cannot believe Who Are You duplicated. I cannot believe he duplicated Sombra instead of Winston there. Absolutely the wrong choice. Winston can give you so much more stalling power. He might not have been able to get Primal Rage, essentially 1v6 there, but a bit mind-boggling to see the Sombra duplication there instead of the Winston, because Winston can stall for even a second longer on the point, and then maybe you get the Primal if Shanghai doesn't focus you down correctly, or you see someone else touch the point for a second, and you could buy time. But yeah, I mean, I was shocked that they got the double cap. I said it at the beginning, this is pretty unlikely, but you mentioned the EMP effect, and how much that can really wreck the ult economy. And you know, with Who Are You having such a weird decision there with his duplicate to not hit Fearless, but in fact to copy Lip. It's kind of strange. It's not the first time he's done it, right? You know, I feel like a lot of people might be wondering, especially on Eichenwald, did he really mean to duplicate the Sombra? And it looks like stylistically, especially because he's a DPS player, that might be where he wants to go. And maybe he was thinking, okay, my team can stall, I can build EMP, and we can defend this rather than stall this. But I think that was a bit of a pipe dream.
I feel like duplicating the Sombra is, I'd said it before, but just to kind of explain, it's high risk because not only are you squishier while building it up relative to other heroes to an extent, but EMP is something that you can't always force. You have to wait for the right opportunity, but you know, Echo Ult, it lasts for a while, but it doesn't last long enough to necessarily look for the best EMP in the short window after building it to going back to Echo for him. So, I mean, I think it's a difficult play to pull off a lot of the time.
Yeah. Looks like we're going to see a difficult play to pull off here as well, the teleport strategy. Who Are You? Porting around the left side, so another fourth completely different composition here for New York. It's similar to what we saw previously because it is Orisa Hog, but he's going to swap after teleporting back to the Echo to try to rejoin. They get the high ground, but they don't have an angle to look for hooks. Halt hooks here. Very difficult, actually, at this angle, and kind of just going to have to back off and wait for Who Are You to rejoin. This is a bit awkward for New York.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, as you mentioned earlier, Echo's a little bit slow, so they do burn time just waiting in the corner, waiting for Who Are You to rejoin, Who Are You back into the fight. Dragons holding back. Bear in mind, the Dragons are running Rhine here, so they have given Who Are You a very juicy target once he builds an ult, but as we can Echo ults, oh, Ding is down! Who Are You got the chase right then and there. And now New York with an easy 6-on-5, and I do wonder what the Dragons do here. They have the EMP, they're gonna have to drop it, an uneven number situation, but they're pushed back. Not quite poked down. Now they drop the EMP, hits 5, and Jonax is just erased from existence. Void right there on the follow-through. And the Dragons, really good patience and an even better EMP.
Yeah, I think New York really jumped the gun on taking a hard engage there after the pick. I mean, obviously, you're going to be able to chunk down Fearless's barrier pretty quickly with the right clicks, and I think they could have just played that a lot slower instead of playing into Lip's hands. They didn't have a Transcendence, so they're going to have to deal with the EMP regardless. I think slow playing that, maybe forcing the Lip to use his EMP aggressively rather than defensively when they were all on the point could have given them more opportunities. But when your opponent has 5 minutes of a time bank, you don't like playing slow, you don't like playing patient, even if you're in New York. So I think they just got a little bit ahead of themselves there. As you see Hotba now swapping over to the D.Va. The Roadhog strategy is not going to work out as well as they would have hoped.
Definitely not. And I mean, here I think they just really pin their hopes and dreams on Who Are You getting the duplicate off onto Fearless. Who Are You's getting checked here to a degree. Who Are You's going a little more aggressive build ult, ends up getting low, but Izayaki gets caught on the other end. So New York, again, working with a big advantage. Lip is not going to have EMP up this time, so New York should be able to just go in. Dang. Well, uses the Brigida. Mono out of the fight. Sableby, though, got to the back. Takes down Fearless. Not going to be available to clone for Echo here, though.
Yeah, that's awkward.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Sableby's just rolling around. So good cleanup from New York. They get to save the Echo ult for point B. And I wonder here, if you're Fearless, do you stay on the Rhine and give that duplicate opportunity up for Who Are You?
That's almost like a philosophical question, right? Because it's tough to identify the correct choice. You've got your own shatter, but Who Are You could shatter from the sky if he gets a nice angle. You have to be really vigilant, I think, as Fearless to actually make sure you don't give line of sight. You've got to keep your barrier up, or you even have to play back. Because if you give a crazy shatter angle, it can all be over in a second.
Yeah,
you already have the better time bank, so why not just play safe?
This is really awkward. I think if you're Fearless, wait, Who Are You goes for the clone on the Brigida, so they don't have to worry about the shatter anymore. Fearless has a really big shatter opportunity of his own, drops shatter, and Who Are You just about to get sent back to Echo for him here. Perhaps low HP, gonna happen either way. Drops a rally though before falling. Now Who Are You back in the Echo. New York taking a long time in this fight for not much result as Mono falls.
Yeah, rally doesn't work like that the way I think he wants it to get that armor there. You know, Who Are You might want to be What Are You in this series in terms of like the clone choices, because it feels like every time it's just a little bit off. You know, you could try to justify his decisions, but you're going to really struggle when there are clearly better options, and it just felt like a panic move there. New York already down on time, and now that lead for the Shanghai Dragons is extended.
Yeah, all across the board it was weird, and Sableby I think feeling under pressure, goes for the early poke, ends up falling early, and it sort of felt anticlimactic for that push from New York, where you're expecting something big to happen, you know, potentially the Ryan duplicate, and nothing just goes well for New York.
Yeah, this is rough. And Fearless is in a great position to even, he just swaps. He doesn't have a Shatter anymore. He doesn't need to play the Ryan, doesn't need to give that unnecessary risk, you know, to Who Are You? Or, you know, give them that opportunity, that risk that they have of that side Shatter.
UP out early from left. This time the Dragons try and be the aggressors. They force out the Transcend from Jonak, but meanwhile, bomb out from Hoppa. Forces the Dragons back. The front line for the Dragons in a tougher spot. Who Are You, though, picked off. Fearless and Void able to get healed up. So that could have gone really wrong for the Dragons there, Wolf, but they were able to disengage just in time. But still forces a duplicate out here from Ding, but Sableby trying to make something happen, but New York just pushed back a bit as we move in. But if Ding falls, there's a real opportunity for New York.
Yeah, Ding escapes, but he can't do the damage they need him to do. Void is just trying to tag. Shanghai in big trouble here in terms of defending.
It's very all over the place, but the Dragons haven't lost anyone just yet. Even as New York is getting more advantage, they're getting ticks on the point. The Dragons still have a full 6, but at some point they gotta go forward. Fearless ends up getting picked, and now Sableby on the hunt once more. And New York just about there. Dragons are still 5 up. They can delay for a while here, but the EMP coming on out here from Who Are You off the duplicate, but there's a real EMP out from Lip. Off on the other end, hits 3, and Sableby, the one person that's getting things done.
I'm not a believer in this Who Are You EMP strategy. I mean, he gets the EMP this time, but Shanghai is still surviving, still buying time. You're already 4 minutes behind. You might be worse than that.
Yeah, this is, I mean, New York, they're slowly grinding this out. The Dragons are in retreat, and that should be it. They finally clear enough off the point. No small part to the Sableby. That was...
Yeah, Lee buys a little bit more time, but I mean, you got to be really frustrated if you're in New York. I mean, you were fighting a winning battle for so long, but you were losing time bank. And the EMP, the difference between the EMP helps you get those kills, right? It helps you get those opening kills in a fight. It helps you kill the supports. Sometimes it can help you burn down a tank because he can't hold his shield up anymore, can't escape, depending on what tank we're talking about. But in a fight where you're already winning, where you're already ahead, where you need to just continue to put out consistent damage and get those full long-term kills, keep everybody off the point, Primal push them away, Winston just seems to make so much more sense. And, I mean, I don't want to pass judgment on Who Are You. This is literally our first day professional Overwatch League Echo, and it could be at the end of the day that because Sombra builds EMP so quickly, it becomes the meta and it's the most common duplication target. But right now, I can't help but wonder on a lot of these duplicates that we're seeing coming up from Who Are You is the target correct?
I don't think it is.
I don't think so.
And I mean, I think we, again, as you say, it's day one, we could be wrong, but EMP is something that needs to be harvested with love and care. You have to, it's not just getting the EMP, Wolf, it's about finding the right opportunity, going, okay, there's 3-4 people here at the right time, now I'm going to use it. It's why even when a team has EMP, it can take so long for the EMP to go out.
EMP is not just... It's not just to press Q as fast as possible, right? ZP, I mean, it's a lot more complicated than that, like you say, so... Whereas Primal is kind of press Q as fast as possible.
Yeah. Or Earth Shatter if you see opportunity go, especially if it comes from a weird angle. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just tricky to pull off at best. Now New York, only a minute on their time bank here.
They so desperately need a pick.
Big advantage.
They so desperately need to kill somebody with Sableby. He's trying.
Mono picked off immediately, and you can just feel some of the desperation from the New York Excelsior here. But Sableby, again, being the hero, where it's not on screen a lot, but you see Sableby just, if you don't see him on screen, know that he's in the back line.
Exactly. Watch his ult charge if you want to see how much damage he's doing. Jonak actually surviving their great Matrix from Hotba, and they're actually about to touch this point. This is a really good opportunity here for NYXL to win this longer fight. All they need is really one more pick.
And Who Are You in the skies, Ding, ahead on the charge. New York, last opportunity here, mid-overtime, both teams 6-on-6. New York a little bit lower in the poke battle. Ding getting very, very close, 92%. Duplicate, about to be potentially the fight decider here. But you have Sableby, the other X Factor on the other side, 99%. Pulse bomb built up, diving on in. Lee Jae-gon already out of the fight. New York charging on over with the Transcendence. EMP, though, out from Blip to the heart of NYXL on the other end, and Void and Lip do more to turn the fight. The Dragons flip it all around. And just when you think New York is going to have a last-minute charge, it stopped.
Yeah, they had to trance to take that fight. You know, they had to use that extra healing to be able to have that point presence, but that means that Shanghai Dragons can kind of play slow during the healing and then EMP afterwards. It's a catch-22 problem if you're a Jonak. If you don't Transcendence, then the rest of your team is just going to get bled out before they can really put up a really good fight on the point. But you know, then the trance you have for EMP won't matter because your teammates are dead. If you do Transcendence to keep your teammates alive and have that point presence, then you're going to have a big problem when the EMP comes out afterwards. And that all is just exacerbated by the fact that there's only 1 minute. If you have 2.5 minutes even to 5 minutes, you get to say, okay, we're going to make it look like we're going to take this fight, force out EMP, come back with a trance later, or, you know, there's a lot more options, but we only have 1 minute and you only have one fight. You don't get those choices. You don't get to make choices like that. You don't get to have that ideal fight.
Yeah, and now you look at the situation the Dragons find themselves in. Okay, first off, we know that no matter what going into here, New York cannot win the map, so we're guaranteed another map. It doesn't quite absolve us of a potential 3-0 because there is a world where Shanghai just fails for 5 minutes, but we both watched a lot of Overwatch here, Wolf, and
it doesn't
a
seem that
5-minute
way.
hold on Volskaya, that doesn't really happen.
Yeah, it doesn't really happen.
No.
Especially with Echo on the field. So much chaos can happen. It's only one tick they need too. I mean, if Ding goes over and copies Mono and just knocks everyone off the point the right way, they could steal the win away. And that's the rare sticky bomb kill on Sabiobi.
I wish I had a replay of that. Sabiobi just got annihilated. And now the biggest weapon for New York out of the fight. The Dragons get to recklessly move on over. And bear in mind, New York can't even give up a tick, so they must fight this on the point. Yeah, Hoppa, the early martyr on the point, and now they're just about there. Jonak out of the fight, and the Dragons just get to casually roll forward off just a downtown snipe.
I love just watching Mono just run away with his Winston tail tucked between his legs. He was like, well, I'm not going to die here. I'm not going to affect my my main tank rankings, you know. I know Backpack Matt's going to be after me if I die here, so I'm just going to keep one last death.
Winston doesn't have a tail. I don't know what you're seeing there. Like, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I was like, I don't think he has a tail, but you know, monkeys have tails, but he's not a monkey. Like, he's a gorilla, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Metaphorically speaking, though.
Metaphorically, it was there. But the Dragons, they fight on back, and some life in the series yet, where people, of course, look at going, it's going to be more 3 Overwatch. Not quite yet. The Dragons, they are adapting. New York, perhaps, will get challenged yet. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more action.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, helping you stay connected to what matters most. Learn about T-Mobile's COVID-19 response on T-Mobile.com.
The Dragons striking back against New York Excelsior. And I have to say, Wolf, we've seen great mechanical gameplay come out of New York, but the ult usage, particularly coming from Echo in the last map, a little bit suspect as Shanghai was forcing New York to really dig deep.
I mean, Shanghai got a great time, and then New York, I think, really tried to force a lot of weird team fights when they were down on time bank there. It obviously ended up finishing the map, but desperation, leads to some weird fights where interesting, let's just say, to use the caster term, Echo duplicate choices coming out from Who Are You. Look, Who Are You is having a great Echo game in terms of the neutral, right? In terms of like how he's winning a lot of these duels. He's beating Ding a lot of the time. He's finding backline picks. He's doing insane things. But when it comes to decision making in some of these team fights, it feels like he's leaving some. There are some holes, let's just say. Like, Who Are You's always been one of my favorite players, one of the youngest players we've ever had to be a pro gamer in Overwatch, way before the Overwatch League, many, many years ago. And now, he's finally made it into Overwatch League. He's still a good player, especially, he's playing his big hero pool heroes like the Genji, the Doomfist. But, decision-making here is sometimes a little bit off, and I feel like the shot calling needs to pick up the slack there and say, hey, like, Who Are You? Wait. He needs to be directed at some point.
Well, I think you actually hit on something really big, is that, there are times where in the past where Who Are You has played heroes like Brigitte also, and I think Who Are You, in the Echo choices right now, I think he is clutching on the heroes that he's more comfortable on. It comes back to this entire idea of, as an Echo player, yeah, you could be the most versatile DPS ever, but can you be comfortable going on the heroes like Reinhardt? Going on the heroes like Winston, where an ultimate like Primal Rage, it's great you can build it up quickly, but it also has one of the biggest learning curves in the game, even for pro players.
Absolutely.
So, we go back to the entire thing of like, well, is cloning the Sombra a good idea? And it might be the only thing that Who Are You feels comfortable cloning half the time.
And I think this goes back to what we saw from Prophet in the previous series as well, is you can kind of feel the uncomfortableness of the duplicate ultimate oftentimes for some of these players. And I wonder how prevalent that will be in the coming days. Obviously, we have a whole day of Overwatch to be played after this, and then another day of Asia Games and North American Overwatch after that. So there's a lot we're going to learn this weekend. But so far, Who Are You? Again, great mechanically, but otherwise having some issues. Not a shock that we're going to see their Orisa Hog starting composition here on Rialto. It's a good map for that. I think Sabilby might again swap to Tracer. Tougher to pull off the Tracer here though, because there's not as much space as there is on Eichenwald.
Yeah, I tend to agree though. If anyone could pull it off, would be Sabilby. But now I do wonder how much of this is the best pick versus how much is the comfortable pick. But Fearless, not looking comfortable at all. Picked off very early, and this is going to concede a lot of room to New York as they move into point A.
I mean, like, every time we see this Roadhog with the Echo, I love it.
It works out well. It gets someone low, it sets up the Echo right after, and even if the Dragons trading out a little bit here, the respawn advantage is going to be so big for New York that the next fight likely takes place in Courtyard, but if they're lucky, Sabilby takes down Izayaki, and again, it just staggers the Dragons back more because Sabilby going to be back to the fight a lot quicker.
Ding kind of getting a little bit nervous. They're doing the abilities in the wrong way, starting with the focusing beam, but it works out in the end. The Sabilby just kind of caught in an awkward spot, doesn't have blinks. But yeah, the cart keeps moving, and Lee Jae-gon gets pushed back. Void is actually playing with fire here, trying to stall the cart with Lip. This could actually be a disaster. They could end up, if he gets demeched, they lose A.
Oh, Lip's down! Went for the EMP, dies while trying to get the EMP out. Nothing happens! And New York has an enormous opportunity. And by the way, well, this has been a tough day for Sombras and EMPs.
It has been. I mean, I talked about the patch, in Roll Q, when Roll Q came out, that gave the extra delay, but it does make it a lot harder to be a Sombra main in this meta. And that was a hook that actually pulled him out of it.
Yeah, and now the Dragons, okay, you're down your Winston. Your ability to delay BD on the point is tough, but okay, your self-destruct hit Sanamo. I don't think it's enough. Sabilby still just doing whatever he wants in the back, but it does force out support ults here from New York. They have to use the Transcendence. So, not a total loss here for the Dragons as they go for last bit of delay.
Interesting choice again for Who Are You, just for, as they do get the point here. Can't criticize him for that, but just for academic sake, you mentioned Who Are You and his decision-making in the past, playing Brigitte, for example. He ends up cloning Brigitte a lot here as well. Another hero he's played in the past historically, it feels comfortable on, even though Fearless was available, and a Primal on that bridge could be so devastating. Interesting.
Yeah,
We're looking into a mind of, you know, a DPS player who's got a lot of comfort picks.
Oh, well, not comfortable there. New York, Ding, takes down 2 with ease. And that's going to lead to a full reset from New York a little bit.
Mono actually stealing some distance here, though.
Not for long. Into the river he goes. Void even eating the pulse bomb for good measure. So actually really nice stabilization.
It's awkward as Orisa because you're like, well, I really don't want to jump off the side here. I've got a large armor pool. I want to make use of that, but at the same time, I'm slow. I can't run away. And he gets the cart pushed a little bit. I mean, small victories, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it could be a big victory here where you want to talk about comfort and going for tanks. Not only do the Dragons have the EMP, but Ding could just clone Mono here. But Jonak gets picked off early, and this is just free time.
Yeah,
free
Shanghai is just
for the
threatening
Dragons.
Jonak, trying to force his trance. He doesn't even have it yet, and I think they think he does. That's why they're playing this way, but just keeps being small victories here for Shanghai that allow them to hold this EMP. And Jonak will have that Transcendence eventually here, but they're going to get the bridge fight they want. And the only fear is, again, as you mentioned, that duplicate onto the Reinhardt. They're respecting it so much here, too. You can see they're backing off. They want to take that EMP fight.
Yeah, I mean, they have to respect who are you, but so far, who are you not really interested in going for the Reinhardt duplicate a lot? And who are you just might be dead? Ding on the chase down. And New York just keeps getting staggered here, Wolf. Over and over again. It's a different person each time, but the result is the same. New York is not getting a clean fight whatsoever.
Certainly not. I feel like the novelty of what New York was doing in terms of the Roadhog is kind of worn off. And in terms of the mirror matchup, you know, who are used making great individual plays. But in terms of just straight up ult engages, you know, it's always going to be that way, right? New York's playing the pick comp with the Tracer, and Shanghai's playing the ultimate composition, right, with the Sombra. And I feel like Rialto's a map that really lends itself to... Server swap really quick. It's a map that lends itself to ultimate-based team play, right? Because you're looking at choke points, you're looking at small, narrow hallways.
Well, you do it for you going in. This time, who are you clones the D.Va? Of all things here, doesn't go for the Rhine. Lip, though, gets caught. And we might have a bomb coming out of here soon. Who are you, though? Building pretty slowly at that. Ding. Going for the D.Va clone on the other side. So D.Va's on both ends. Who are you's bomb? Moving over, and I think it despawned. Ding on the other end. Going for his self-destruct. Up, over, onto the cart. Doesn't get much. Dragons, though, still delaying as this goes on.
Yeah, New York is still getting a little bit of distance, but it's just not as quickly as I think they would have liked. And that's a really nice hack to get away with.
Yeah, I mean, New York, they are getting the better of this to a degree. It's kind of them getting a taste of their own medicine, though, where they're winning, but they're not winning quick. The Dragons doing a masterful job right now of delaying. I don't think they're going to throw a Transcendence into this. I think this is where they let it go, but I don't know if they get back in time for point B. This is going to be very close.
Yeah, it is going to be close. I think New York just clutch it out, though. I mean, the Dragons are going to have to fight with Trance. Rally comes out.
We're going for it, and okay. The Dragons, they decide to go for it. One of those high-risk, high-reward moments, and New York, for now, ends up giving them space. Hopla self-destruct. Doesn't quite get the desired result. And now New York, they're going to have to commit Transcendence here for Jonak.
Yeah.
I think they're going to wait for it, and he has to do it in response to EP, and Jonak gets the Transcendence off, but still not in time to save For You out of the fight early, so the impact mitigated. Sabiel will be forced on back, and the Dragons just looking very strong.
Yeah, it was a risky play, but it pays off big time. The rally for Namo not good enough there to give everyone the HP they needed. Trance doesn't save Who Are You, and New York is in major trouble now.
Final 10 seconds, their front line is down. And now Sabiel B just going to have to throw himself onto the payload just to buy a bit of time. So New York now looking for the miracle to keep this going. They touch a payload, it is in overtime. New York gets the opportunity to dive on over, but they're down on him. Oh, they're down. Who Are You? The Dragons with the counter engage. That should be it. The Dragons hold off here on Rialto, and suddenly, Wolf, a map 5's not looking too crazy.
Yeah, it's really not. I mean, you said it, I think in our first series, we're going to watch a lot of evolution of Echo tonight, you know, and it's like, you know, we don't cast a lot of series like this, I feel like, in regular season. You see stuff like this in playoffs where it's top teams doing interesting, unique strategies that no one's necessarily seen before, you know, like the Roadhog we're seeing from Hotba. New York going for some Symmetra teleports. But the novelty has worn off a little bit, and Shanghai is just saying, look, it's Rialto, I'm going to play around EMP. You can't Tracer me here. There's not enough space. There's not enough room for Sabiel to escape with. He has to go through these narrow corridors where he's going to get stunned oftentimes by Lee Jae-gon, or he's going to find himself having to recall early, which limits his ability to do damage. And Who Are You's ultimate choices have been a little bit lackluster. And you start to feel the series slip away from New York. It's a momentum-based thing that happens in longer series. And this has been, you know, even though it's only 3 maps so far, a longer one. I mean, we had the whole extra rounds on Eichenwald and everything else, and it's late at night for us. Actually, it's not late at night for them. I was going to say, I'm like, you know what, they're really tired. Actually, probably not, but I don't know. I feel like there's fatigue. I feel like there's a momentum shift here because Shanghai is starting to figure out what New York is playing. And I wonder if this is going to be one of those games where Shanghai just starts to suddenly take it away.
Well, I think that this is the last iteration of this New York we see in the series one way or another, because if New York loses this map, they go back to the Echoless comp for control, because it worked the first time around. I think they would go to that one more time. So there is a different New York waiting should Shanghai win this map, which right now looking likely as Jonak just gets blown up. A great engage from Shanghai to start things off, and New York already in a tough spot where they don't have much to give.
Yeah, Echo Dive is so effective when utilized correctly like this. However, Fearless going a bit too far. You've got to be careful about trading like that, because then suddenly Void becomes vulnerable as well.
Got the Echo Duel happening, and Who Are You isn't really winning the Echo Duels anymore. I feel like he's getting intimidated by Ding to a degree, and it's just helping Shanghai win in the neutral even more so than they were before, and you sense the momentum shift here, Wolf.
Oh, you certainly do. Okay, Who Are You needs to make a big play here. Unfortunately,
oh no, they don't even touch a point!
Yeah.
Disaster for New York.
Really
New York
good zoning from the Dragons.
It's good zoning, but this still shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't happen.
New York is stuck in their own head right now. They're going to stagger. They're going to give up even more room to the Dragons. And the Dragons, they're playing really well. But on the same note, New York is collapsing before our very eyes.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, Who Are You? He gets ult charge here and he gets away. You know, it would have looked like a fool if he didn't, if he had gone in there and died and staggered himself. I mean, the cart still rolls, but at least he flies away and glides away with his duplicate. But, I mean, otherwise, ultimate-wise, Shanghai Dragons can match everything that New York has and then some, because they have the EMP, which, you know, cheats ult economy. As long as Lip doesn't get found out.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Lip gets a good engage here, it's looking okay for the Dragons. There's the EMP, and it hits 5. That's more than good enough. Sabiel B, first of all, there. Jonak having to drop the Transcendence and keep New York in the fight. But Sabiel B down so early, it's not easily turnable at all. Ding still holding on to the Echo. Who Are You? Clones of Brigitte. The Dragons are still very much in the fight. And okay, Ding goes for Brigitte clone on the other end. The Dragons gain way more courtesy of Void.
Yeah, Rally doesn't persist actually after that when you end up losing your Brig. So I think he's thinking he's going to get a double Rally, but both times he's tried this, it just hasn't worked out. I mean, this might just be the end of the map. They're staggered. He lost his duplicate. He's not going to be able to use it to contest anymore by cloning Fearless. What a mess for New York.
Well, the final opportunity to delay, and Sabiel B has to throw himself onto the point, is immediately dispatched by Lee Jae-gon. And the Dragons are playing so composed right now as New York just really hasn't had a chance to catch their breath. And they don't have any more opportunities to do so here. Down 1, Lip drops EMP. Goodbye, good night. The Dragons force their way right to a map 5. And New York looks shook.
Yeah, New York definitely looks shaken here. I mean, this series is slipping through their fingers. I mean, it got closer and closer. Obviously, we started off on Lijiang Tower. Fairly close control, but they had a tight lid on it because they surprised Shanghai. Go into Eichenwald, surprise Shanghai again, have a really interesting defensive style of burning the clock. Close map there, but they take it with smart play, with Sabiel B Tracer on an open map. But the further down the line we go, it just feels like Shanghai is starting to figure them out. Who Are You's decision-making on the Echo ultimates are costing them big. And I feel like I hate doing this as a caster where I harp on one specific point, but I just keep noticing it over and over again. And I'm watching Ding. I'm like, look at these duplicates. Look at the value. And then, I can't say the same thing about Who Are You's.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you have to give credit too to how Shanghai has adapted throughout all of it, where you're seeing Sabiel be under a lot more pressure early on. Sabiel is going in for the early pickoffs and just meets into a brick wall. I think inherently in this meta, you focus the Echo as a main threat. Shanghai has changed their approach. They're going, no. Sabiel is the threat, and it's forced who are you to make plays, and it has not gone well for New York. And New York, at some point, just let everything slip away.
Yeah,
However,
Rialto is also just, I feel like one of those maps is not as good for Tracer.
No. But that does bring us to a map 5, which means the Dragons, after a tough start, are on the verge of bringing this back. It's reverse sweep territory now. New York, are they going to make any changes for map 5? We're going to have to find out.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
It's been an unconventional road to get here throughout the series, but we've ended at the destination many thought we'd be at. Game 5, New York versus Shanghai, and which team is going to walk away with the title of being number 1 in APAC, arguably number 1 in all the Overwatch League. We are about to find out. I'm ZP here with Wolf, and Wolf, this has been an interesting one so far.
It certainly has. Like I said, I wanted a Game 5. I think everybody wanted a Game 5. I think we got the monkey's paw wish, though, because this Game 5 doesn't feel that hype. It doesn't feel like we're seeing this even clash between two teams. It feels like New York Excelsior had a leg up on Shanghai in terms of strategy for the first two maps, but it started to fall off, and decision-making in terms of ult economy and also Echo Ultimate specifically really hurt New York going into the maps 3 and 4. And it felt like they lost rather than Shanghai won in a lot of ways. So, you know, this isn't that tense back and forth that I necessarily wanted. It is a Game 5. It's one of our closer matches we've had in the Asia region as of late, but I don't know. I hope that in this final game, New York can really bring it back and at least show us a close map as our final control, or on our final control.
I talked about towards the end of Rialto, but the prophecy has come true where New York, they have gone with the substitution. Who are you out for the final map? And it is going to be Libero coming back in. And to me, Wolf, what this signals based on what we saw from their original map 1 where they were very dominant, I don't think Echo's coming back out for New York. I think Who Are You was their Echo player for maps they're going to run Echo on. But now that we're heading into our final control map, this seems to me that we're going to be seeing more with the Reaper May, where it's going to be Libero taking up that role, New York playing what they're very comfortable at. But I don't know if it's going to have the same impact, Wolf, because I think it caught Shanghai by surprise. I don't think Shanghai was expecting the old. But now they're going to map 5. They see the substitution. New York's hand is very clear.
I think that there's a lot of options here for New York because we're going to Busan for our final map, which is very, very different, obviously, than what we saw previously on Lijiang, where there's a lot more chokes to work with. Lijiang, obviously, the Torbjorn strategy we saw on the second round there of Gardens was really effective versus an Echo push. It's a little bit tougher to pull that off, though, I feel like, on Busan. Busan, you're going to have the same opportunity, I think, on Mecha Base, specifically, where you have all those choke points, but you're not going to have the same opportunity on downtown at Sanctuary as much. So I wonder, they might be able to run it on Mecha Base, but I feel like Shanghai is not going to run into the same problems that they did previously. And I think New York might be overconfident. In fact, if they run this again on this map, you know, the same reason why they had problems on Rialto is they tried to run the Tracer comp again, the Roadhog Orisa again on a map where it's just not as effective.
I think New York, though, you think about their options they have here. If you're coaching New York, you're looking at this going, okay, our Echo comp has been figured out. We are getting outplayed in the mirror. Things are not going well. I mean, not a full mirror, but they're running the Tracer versus Sombra. Their style of it not working out. I think you go to something where it's like, okay, our control was super dominant. Maybe Shanghai adapts, but do they adapt enough to turn things around? Well, I think this is what New York is betting on, saying, well, no, they're not going to adapt quite that well. But Shanghai, they've been adapting all series long, so I don't quite know what we're going to get here, but I think New York might be in for a rude awakening if they're running this again, sans Echo, which I think is very likely.
Yeah, I think they're going to be in for a rude awakening, especially on Sanctuary if they decide to run it, which is where we're going to start. Libero shows Ashe here, and they are going to teleport. This is definitely where Ashe is at her strongest of the three maps within Busan because there's long sight lines. You see a lot of Widow on this, or McCree on this as well, obviously when they're both not removed from the pool as they are this week. So Tracer Ashe versus Echo Ashe on the other side. The Echo Ashe definitely has a lot of finishing power, but I feel like Sabiobi is again going to have to look for picks if he wants to have the same value.
It's going to be hard, though, because there's no Echo to help with that mechanically. Part of why the Tracer was so good is that you did have the Echo working on it, even though it didn't pan out on the ultimate side of the fight. Sabiel working with a much harder job here, trying to finish off perhaps Dynamite finish-offs, but Mono taken down early. The Dragons a much better poke advantage, and even with Ding falling, the Dragons should have done enough to push New York out in full.
Yeah, I feel like the functionality of Ashe here is to poke a little bit to win the tank war, but also potentially to help snipe Echo. And the Tracer just doesn't help with that. I think the reason why you see Lip on Tracer is there's a bit of a back cap here by Sabiel, which actually further staggers him, so ends up backfiring big time. Feels like New York's playing on tilt, but anyway, to finish my point, Lip playing, there's a functionality of Lip playing the Ashe. It's to counter potentially the Echo coming out from New York. Also helps chip the tanks, but I just really like the setup here for Shanghai so much more because the Tracer's going to struggle. There's a lot of space to work with, but you really need to be all in on the dive to make it happen.
New York going for the attempt again. Mono taking so much damage early, but okay, Libero finds Ding, deals with the Echo, and if Mono can live, which Mono does, Jonak uses a Transcendence just to keep him alive, and it's a good one. New York still a full 6. Fearless dropping the Primal pretty late in the fight for a bit of delay, but you know, it gets Libero off, but New York, they're going to be able to go back over into the point, and that was about went as well as they could have hoped.
Yeah, Bob not being too effective from Lip either. And the point does get taken back here at 69. That's not going on Reddit today, but I think New York, I mean, they've really turned things here with 4 ultimates left. They have control of the choke. Libero has a Bob to use here, which can stall and delay. They don't have the ability to obviously duplicate Fearless and then set up for a really long delay, but I think otherwise there's so many tools they've got. And that's, I mean, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, well, Hoppa opens up with the bomb, and Table be a bomb of his own. Just staggers the Dragons where they were in a good spot. Izayaki got the early pickoff, and Dragons perhaps overplaying their hand just a bit.
Speaking of overplaying their hand, I don't know if Mono needed to Primal there, but he's going to help get some staggers here. Ding not going to be able to fly away this time. Pretty long cooldown on that flight ability. This is crazy. I don't know about that one,
Mono. What?
Like, what? Why would you go that deep?
That was questionable, and of course, this is back when Shanghai might have had the advantage there. Replay on your screen there, but
everybody likes to see Jonak die in a 1v1.
Yeah, just like, by the way, this happened. He killed the king. Just thought you'd like to know. But the Dragons back over into the point. New York getting heavily pressured. Mono immediately evaporated. And the Dragons get a much better engage here, and they even get to save the Transcendence.
I mean, look, ZP, like, New York has had some of the smartest play that we've seen in Asia in the first 2 maps. They were playing super intelligently. I loved every decision they were making. I loved their ability to burn down the time we saw in Eichenwald, compositions they've been planning. And then it's like we got halfway through the series, and then all the IQ points went away, all the intelligent plays, all the smartness, and this preparation, it's gone. I mean, what was that play from Mono?
I don't know. I mean, it was just far too overconfident. It's like he was playing like they were about to be up 3-0 and not about to lose the series and get reverse swept. This is what I just saw there. The Dragons in control of the point. Hoppa moves in the stall, loses his mech. The New York Excelsior looking for anything. It's not coming from Jonak. Fearless just stomps him into the ground. And the Dragons making a statement here, about to get the round. And New York on the verge of what is going to be a very, very painful loss.
I mean, New York is snatching defeat from the jaws of victory in a lot of ways right now. I hate to harp on it so much, but like, if you screenshotted the ultimates they had, or the heroes they had in the composition they had going into that last fight, and looked at that picture and asked yourself, how do they engage here? The answer is they can't. Bob is the closest thing they had to hard engage with the composition they were running. It doesn't work well together. We're going to have a quick pause here. The composition doesn't work really well together. You don't have a lot of synergy with the heroes that do engage on these points. And, you've got an Ashe and a Tracer. You talked about it earlier. Tracer and Echo, one target gets low. Echo can finish off with her beam. Or vice versa. Echo pokes at a hero, and then Sabilby's got instant mobility. He could chase down a target and kill her. But you see, like, Ashe's damage coming through comes in pretty slow. You don't get a target low enough. They're playing so far back. Even if you get a target low, it's too risky for Sabilby to go in. It's just not quite the same thing. It's not quite the same amount of consistent damage output. And I think you really need to have an Echo there one way or the other. And it seems like they're so forced to run Sabilby's Tracer right now that they didn't feel comfortable going Ashless on a map with long sight lines.
So Wolf, look at the situation here where it was New York that called for the pause. We could give that info. It's not secret. I'm just thinking in my head where, I was down in Atlanta. You had invited a bunch of us out to go down by the pool, or actually the lake. And you're talking about, you were like, I really, really liked the OGN tactical pause music. That's what's going on right now. This is tactical pause going out from New York. Like, I don't care what they're claiming right now. Like, oh, no, we have a tech issue. No. You're about to get reverse swept out of the series. I think New York right now is calling for time, like one of those classic OGN tactical pauses. We're just missing the techno in the background now.
I miss the tactical pause music. I think everybody does. I'm sure someone will put that like in the chat or something. People can find it, or maybe on Reddit or something. But anyway. I feel like if you're New York here, you're kind of like what they were trying to do previously isn't wrong per se, and it's not bad either. In fact, it's intelligent. There are reasons behind it. You have long sightlines. Libero has the ability to help shut down their opponent's Echo with the Ashe. Ashe has the ability to help really mitigate dive. Obviously, her dynamite and her ability to escape with her kind of shotgun blast thing. I forget what that ability is called, but you know what I'm talking about. She can survive. She can help you win those fights. She can help burn down heroes, and that's kind of how it worked from the beginning as we do go into mecha base. But then there's some weird choices. Mono dives too deep, etc. Now this is where I thought we'd see that composition that we saw on Lijiang because of the map.
Well, I do think that this is much better for New York here. They get to run a mirror, but they're way more accomplished. But Libero gets caught. New York might not be able to put themselves together in time. The Dragons looking stronger and stronger. They get the early opening pick. Should give them opening control. And if New York thought that this was going to get better, it might not.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it for now. And actually, in this mirror composition, getting the first control point cap on mecha base, like, this is almost a death sentence. Because as New York now, imagine being Libero being 20% down in ult charge, and you're like, ooh, can I even poke? Can I even do anything? If we engage here hard, then we're going to give them Blizzard and lose time. It's a nightmare if you're New York. They do escape here.
They need
See
to
how they take this ultless fight.
They need someone on the Dragons to mess up, and guess what? The Dragons are flawless. The Coalescence comes out. New York Excelsior falling one by one.
And if we... I mean, ZP, if we rewind back to Lijiang, remember it was Jonak who got the Coalescences first. It was Jonak who saved a lot of those fights. When Shanghai were running Echo, they were running no Moira. Now, Jonak is, because of that lost first team fight, he doesn't have Coalescence fast enough. He has it second, and it might not save them against the upcoming Blizzard here. Shanghai's not going to take the straight-up fight because they know the Coalescence is ready. They're going to try to fight back and get that Blizzard.
Shatter comes in from Fearless, does not connect. Mono, now with an opportunity. Getting healed by the Cole, drops a Shatter, also gets nothing. And now the Dragons, they drop the beat. They bring it right back over into New York. And it's a 6-on-5, 6-on-4. This fight about to slip away once more. And Wolf, this is unbelievable. New York, who was once so far ahead in the series, potentially about to be down to their final fight.
It's all about, right now for Hapa, he needs to eat this Blizzard. I think that's their only hope. Get out of the choke point like they did last time, and then in that neutral fight, before the ultimates start flying, he has to absorb that Blizzard from Ding. If the Blizzard goes off for Ding, I mean, I don't know if this is even winnable. I don't even know if it's even discussable. They have a sound barrier too for the longer fight on the point, but that Blizzard is everything. And oh no, they're cut in half.
They have to get something good here. Hapa opens up with the bomb, does not get anything. New York rushing into the point. Down goes Sabiel B. Shanghai, the better engaged Blizzard from New York, rotated around, and the Dragons 96% full control. New York goes down in flames after what was a great start. The Dragons destroy their dreams. They take the series 3-2.
Dragons keep their #1 spot, and they jump up 9-1 in the Overwatch League. The top team right now, don't at me, Philly fans, the #1 team in the Overwatch League. They steal this win back. New York, they get in their heads. They are able to take the momentum away from them, and New York suddenly starts making mistakes. We're starting to see ultimate mistakes, and Shanghai is able to take this. In that last fight too, they had to sound very early because they got cut in half, which meant they didn't have that. The Blizzard came down. A lot of problems for New York in that last map overall.
I just think they hit a point where even swapping back to Libero, I just think the morale for New York was just decimated after falling down in the series, where it was looking so good for New York. They were so far ahead. You called it best. We said we saw some of the most intelligent play you can imagine from New York in the first 2 maps. And the IQ just was sliding down, and it wasn't a small slope. It was basically falling off a cliff. New York just had error after error piling up. And I think Echo play in general, a challenge for them. Meanwhile, the Dragons just getting better and better. Good adaptations, better in the neutrals the series went on, adjusting Sabiel B, not letting him get just so many pickoffs to start a fight where they go, oh, wait, we can actually focus the Tracer. Sabiel B is not, in fact, a god. And the Dragons just took away weapon after weapon. And it was insane. And, you look towards what the biggest impact was in the match, who the player of the match is, and you gotta look over towards Ding, Wolf, because we talked a lot about the Echo matchup, and Ding was sublime.
He really was. I mean, he played the better Echo overall throughout the longer series, and he stuck with it the entire time, but Shanghai played better around his Echo and his Echo ultimates than New York was able to do. And I think oftentimes, in that battle against Who Are You, sometimes he lost those trades, especially early. Who Are You was actually dominating him oftentimes, but his mentality stayed stronger, and he was able to choose the right, duplicate targets, and make the big plays when they mattered most. And going from an 0-2 start to finishing it out 3-2, a lot of that came from Ding and, just his better, superior decision-making.
Well, Wolf, I have to say it has been a fun night of Overwatch. I mean, you called, you said, this night's going so long I can hear your birds chirping outside. Yeah, thank you for having me filling in. Hopefully Achilleos feels better soon. But I had a blast, man. This was fun. We got our long series, even though it wasn't quite the way we expected it to go down. Still a good day Overwatch, I'd say.
It definitely was, DP. It was a pleasure. I think tonight's Asia Games late at night was definitely something special, something a little bit different, and it was really fun casting it with you.
Well, that's going to wrap everything up. We will see everyone later today when North American play kicks off.